Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews. Today we are taking a look at another of the 2019 Schleich figures, and as you can see it is the Dimorphodon, and it is one that I wasn't really looking forward to just because of the odd shape of the pose. I mean, it kind of looks cool, like it's startled or it's maybe getting into a fight with another Dimorphodon, and it's just kind of trying to show that it can hold its own with the appearance of the figure. I don't really know, but at the same time, it doesn't really look like it has too much life to the body, or at least it didn't in the prototype pictures. But honestly, I can say that in person, it is much nicer than I expected. Still not beautiful, and not even close to as nice as other companies like Collect Days Dimorphodon, but it is still pretty darn nice. I'm definitely a little more impressed with it than I was when I had seen the prototype pictures. So to show you, let's get a closer look. Now I got all those little fun tags and stuff that Schleich loves to throw all over their figures off, and let's get a closer look, as I said, at the face. And you can see, just looking right here at the head sculpt, that there is really beautifully done detailing and sculpting of the face. Again, Schleich is never short when it comes to the minute details and sculpt of their figures, and that shines through with this Dimorphodon. As far as the head sculpt goes, if you really get a nice close look at the detailing, it really is very fine and very beautiful. And even here on the inside of the mouth, it still looks really quite nice. I'm not a super huge fan of the black stripe that runs down from the eye going completely over the skin flap on the inside of the mouth, but at the same time it still looks pretty cool. The overall paint scheme is definitely 100% stolen from this image, and Schleich has never been big on coming up with their own paint schemes. They've always had a pretty good track record of stealing their paint schemes from somewhere else, so we can quite obviously see where they came up with the paint scheme for the Dimorphodon, or should I say, inspiration for the Dimorphodon's paint scheme. One thing that I will say that I absolutely hate on this figure, and it's similar to the Spinosaurus for 2019 from Schleich, and it's the teeth. Honestly, the teeth are just absolutely terrible. But it's not because they're painted poorly like the Spinosaurus was, which is really upsetting, but if you look at the teeth on this, the teeth are painted perfectly, honestly. It looks like much better when it comes to the paint being applied than we saw in the Spinosaurus. But I really don't like those big bulky Schleich teeth. And some figures I can just let it slide on, like the bigger carnivores, but this big gigantic tooth in general just drives me absolutely insane. Look at how awfully ugly that big tooth is. I don't know. Just can't get past that. That is just rough. I think if it had a little bit finer teeth, even if they all look similar to the bottom teeth here or the upper teeth, with the way they aren't quite as bulky at the end, I think what the problem is that it starts out kind of thin, and the further out the tooth gets, instead of getting sharper looking, it kind of gets fatter looking. So it just kind of looks like a giant drop of, I don't even know, maybe he was chugging milk and he has a giant drop of milk leaking from his upper jaw, is kind of the way I would describe the big tooth here on the top part. It's honestly pretty distracting for the overall appearance of the figure. But again, the teeth are painted really nicely. It's just that those big Schleich bulky teeth that they are known for aren't the best on this figure. I expect that kind of thing when it comes to Schleich, but this tooth, this one tooth here, this really big one on both sides, is just really distracting for me. But if we can get past those, well, that awful area of the teeth, you can see the tongue is pretty nicely sculpted. There's some pretty good detail on it, and even the inside of the mouth, look at that, that's really nicely detailed in there. Really beautifully detailed. I don't know why they didn't really include any kind of paint on the inside of the mouth other than the tongue, but that's again another thing Schleich is known for. The eye has a beautiful gloss to it. You can see there as I turn it, you can see it shining. It's only really the pupil that they painted though. As you can see that the actual eye is pretty much that same brown variation that is all around the area of the head right there. I feel like painting the actual eye and then maybe painting the pupil would have worked a little better, would have looked a little nicer, but it's not the end of the world. The actual paint applied to the head is really beautifully done. As far as the shading and stuff, it looks very natural. They've done a great job on that. The stripes maybe don't look super realistic, but they look good enough. They don't distract me from the figure or anything, and overall, I think they look fairly natural, except for maybe that stripe that runs down from the eye. But other than that, it really looks pretty good. And then we start to come down the neck. You can see a little bit of those pycnofibers starting to pick up here in the neck. And you can see that beautiful brown coloration runs down to a little bit past the hip area. And again, those pycnofibers are all over the place. And if we look at the wings are honestly really nicely detailed. Even the hands look pretty good. There's a tiny bit of sloppiness with the paint on the claws, but I don't expect perfection on every single figure as far as the paint of the claws go. But you can see that the actual sculpting and detailing here of the skin on the wing looks really good, as do the pycnofibers that run the entire length of the wing. And that paint applied to the wing also looks very nice, looks very natural. I thought it looked pretty good in the original image that they did steal this paint scheme from. Again, everything that is on this figure looks really nice as far as the way the paint is applied in this area. It all looks really natural, really like skin color. Again, the hand is sculpted very nicely. You can see all sorts of variations of brown included in different areas, like this little area here that has that tiny amount of skin right there, just has a slightly different shade of brown than you see on the actual arm. And then again, some more different variations of brown that run out the length of the edge of the wing. So it doesn't quite look as bad as I was expecting. It is still very stiff looking. The overall appearance is definitely very stiff and lifeless looking, but it kind of just gives me the feeling that the Dimorphodon was on alert and kind of startled. Even the back of the wing, you can really get a good idea without all those spots all over it. Just how nice the detailing of the actual sculpt of the wings are, especially the skin. Looks very, very nice. So again, much better than I was expecting as far as the detailing and stuff goes, but I shouldn't have expected any less as far as Schleich's minute details. They really usually do a great job. Same with the skin flap here on the back of the leg. Very beautifully done. Lots of incredible sculpt and detail. Even the leg sculpt looks really good. Feet look pretty nice. And then we run out the length of the tail, and even the little end here to the tail looks very good. And again, that brown picks up here on the end of the tail. That kind of cuts off right here. It goes to just this pale brown, and then that darker brown ends up here on the back of the tail. Same goes for this side with the back of the leg. Really beautiful, very nicely airbrushed paint. It all looks very nice, very realistic. Even the underside has some nice paint variation. So overall, aside from looking like a very stiff, lifeless version of a Dimorphodon, it does include some very nice sculpt and some very nice paint, so it's not near as bad as I was expecting it to be. It also comes with one of these little plastic deals that you can go ahead and put your Dimorphodon on top of in an attempt to make sure that the legs don't warp. I quite often throw these things away, and I will probably do that again with this figure. But I did want to tell you guys that it is included. It's actually included with the Spinosaurus as well. So if you purchase the Spinosaurus, you will get that little plastic to put him on in an attempt to, again, prevent the legs from warping. But as far as a size on the Dimorphodon goes, it's not a super huge figure, but he's not super tiny either. You can see he's about 6¼ inches, or almost about 16 centimeters in length, and for height, to the tip of the wing would probably be the highest point. You're looking at about 3¾ inches, or almost 10 centimeters, almost 4 inches, somewhere in that area, pretty close. For a size comparison, there is the Papo Rex. You can see completely towers over the Dimorphodon, but that's pretty much what you would expect. You can't usually expect such a small pterosaur to get a really huge figure, unless you're Collect Day, of course, because they love that huge deluxe pterosaur line that they have, and so do I. But the Schleich pterosaur, again, this Dimorphodon, is a pretty small figure, but he's not super small. He's not as small as the Papo version of the Dimorphodon, that's for sure. So again, is this the best Dimorphodon that's ever been released? Not a chance, but it's not a bad Dimorphodon. It's got a few very small issues, like that odd, ugly tooth in the front of the face there, and the fact that it just looks very stiff and somewhat lifeless. But at the same time, I could potentially see maybe a Dimorphodon being in this stance. Again, if it's maybe going to fight a different Dimorphodon for some reason, or if it's just in general startled, or it's trying to scare something away and try to show itself as being big and mean, I could potentially see it being in a stance like this. But at the same time, I would have preferred something a little more lifelike looking, something that just more or less showed the animal, not really looking like a statue, kind of more like a living animal, but it's not that bad. And the paint applied, though, is really, really nice. The detailing of everything on it, like the pycnofibers and the sculpting of the minute details in the skin flaps, and everything really looks beautiful, honestly. Schleich never really shies away from the small, tiny details that they should include, and they usually go the extra mile. And again, that shines through here on this Dimorphodon. As far as the sculpting of the small details go, it really looks beautiful. So if you do want to order this Dimorphodon, I will throw a link in the description to everythingdinosaur.com where you can grab one for yourself. I don't know for sure if I would say I recommend one or not. I honestly kind of do. It's pretty nice, actually. It definitely won me over compared to what I was expecting. I did order it just because it was a new sculpt and not a repaint, and I'm usually down to buy any new sculpt that a company releases, and I am not sad that I purchased it because honestly it's not a bad Dimorphodon. So like I said, link will be in the description if you want to buy one for yourself, so go ahead and buy it if you would like. Yeah, I'll say I recommend it. It's not bad. And please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.